most of the people who are picking Anthony Joshua to beat Daniel Dubois are doing so at least partly on the basis of Dubois' defense. He got hit with an awful lot of right hands in the Filip Hrgović fight, and so the idea is if he doesn't dramatically tighten up his defense against AJ, he's going to get knocked out because AJ hits a lot harder than Filip Hrgović. And so the question is, can Daniel Dubois actually do that? Can he tighten up his defense significantly from one fight to the next? In terms of Daniel Dubois' guard, I don't think he can really do much about it. I think his biomechanics are such that he's almost restricted to fighting with this relatively open guard. And I don't see him changing that overnight, which is what you would have to do here. However, the fact he was so aggressive against Filip Hrgović is what gave Hrgović so many opportunities to hit Daniel Dubois. Because whenever you've thrown a shot, there's always going to be a gap there for your opponent to thread a punch through. Against AJ, I suspect Dubois won't be quite so reckless. He'll be a bit more measured and he'll rely on his jab a lot more, or at least he'll try to in the early going. And I don't expect AJ to throw as many punches as Filip Hrgović did. AJ is generally quite low volume, doesn't throw that many shots typically. He tends to go for quality over quantity, kind of like Canelo Alvarez, right? And so I'm not expecting Dubois to get hit with as many punches against AJ in the early going as he got hit with against Hrgović. But when he does get hit by AJ, I'm expecting it to hurt a lot more. I'm expecting it to have a greater impact on Daniel Dubois. And because of that, I don't think AJ will need to throw as many punches as Hrgović did to put Dubois in his box. AJ throws very fast, very accurate, very powerful counters with both hands. And Dubois can be a bit crude offensively. A lot of his punches are thrown with a loop. He'll sometimes throw when he's slightly out of range or off balance. We saw that against Hrgović. And AJ will punish him for doing that. I think AJ will be the first one to land big power shots. Dubois might be the first one to land some good jabs. I'm not sure, but when it comes to big power shots, I think AJ will be the first one to land. And I think that will be pivotal in the fight. As I've said all along, if AJ lands those big power shots early and they hurt and or intimidate Daniel Dubois, then I think he goes on to win the fight. If they don't hurt or intimidate Daniel Dubois and they actually spur him on to be even more aggressive and gung-ho, then things could get very, very sticky for AJ indeed. AJ doesn't like fighting at a high pace. So the outcome of this fight for me hinges on who can control the pace. Will it be AJ with his powerful counters causing Dubois to be cautious, or will Dubois' chin hold up and his heart and his confidence hold up and push forward and be aggressive regardless? That's the question. Because one thing I don't think will hold up is Daniel Dubois' defense. Again, I don't think he's going to get hit as much as he did against Hrgović, at least not condensed into the first 2 or 3 rounds. I think there'll be far fewer punches thrown in the first 2 or 3 rounds against AJ by both guys. But when Dubois does lead off, and he will, because he's primarily a lead puncher, AJ won't have any trouble clipping him, I don't think. And in fact, as the fight progresses, if AJ's in control, I don't think he'll have that much trouble leading off against Dubois and landing either, because as I show in the film study I've done on this fight, Daniel Dubois isn't a particularly good counterpuncher, nor is he very good at throwing punches back immediately after making a defensive maneuver. He struggles with all that. If you ever see Daniel Dubois move his head, that motion, that action actually puts him off balance more often than not. So he's in no position to come back with any punches. So leading off against Daniel Dubois, particularly if you've got the height and reach and speed advantage over him, isn't as dangerous as you might think. As long as you don't punch yourself out, obviously, like Hrgović did. Anyway, long story short, for me the answer is no. Daniel Dubois' defense can't be fixed overnight, but I don't think he'll get hit as much in the early going against AJ, because AJ typically doesn't throw as many punches as Filip Hrgović does. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comment section below. And as I say, if you want to see me do a full technical breakdown, check out my Anthony Joshua Daniel Dubois film study on Patreon, where I go through actual fight footage of several of their key bouts, and I point out strengths and weaknesses in both fighters, the different habits that they have, and the best strategy for each fighter to employ as best I see it. If you want to access this video along with hundreds of hours worth of other exclusive boxing content, as well as our members chat, just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called the Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store. All the links are in the description box below.